Sorry, I had my mic unplugged because I went to go watch the basketball game and did not plug it in. So sorry about that, guys. Should have audio now. Yeah, let me know once it's. I know there's a slight delay, so let me know once there's sound. Should be good now. Let me know, guys. There we go. Okay, cool. I know it's a little bit delayed, so all right. Yeah, I was going to say, if you guys were in here earlier, right, I was live about 45 minutes ago, so super excited to talk about some Monday Night Football. We have, again, Browns, Ravens. If you guys are new to the stream, how it works is we'll take a look at actives, inactives. We'll take a look at the Vegas odds. We'll review the snap counts for each of these teams, and then we'll give a player-by-player breakdown and answer any questions at the end. So, yeah, sorry about that, guys. I had it unplugged. Again, I was watching that Pelicans Heat game. But, okay, so with the Ravens, the only notable one here is Luke Wilson. He's inactive. The reason, or he has been the starting tight end last couple of games. With Mark Andrews back, he was going to be in the backup role anyway. And then for the Browns, we have Cardell Hodge, Marvin Hall are out or inactive. That's a little bit surprising. So I feel like you can feel pretty confident with targeting guys like Higgins, guys like People-Jones as for the Browns receivers, right? It's going to be Jarvis, and there's going to be Higgins, and it's going to be DPJ. Austin Hooper, what is ruled out? Again, we kind of expected that. So we'll talk about a couple of value tight ends there for the Browns. Luka or Ja tonight. So straight up, it's Luka, assuming they play the same minutes. I might, if you guys like get any NBA info about like minutes for any teams, let me know in the chat because I'm not going to be able to keep an eye on it while doing this. But okay, so let's take a look at the Vegas odds against a 45.5 over under. The Ravens are 3-point favorites. So in the most recent game, running backs to the Ravens, it's messy, right? 38% for Dobbins, 33% for Edwards, 20% for Ingram, and even Justice Hill got out there a bit. So 4 running backs saw action. Now, J.K. Dobbins is clearly their most talented back, but at what is he, 8.2K? I don't know if it's I think he's just more of a contrarian play due to the fact of Ravens running backs, they're not involved in the passing game a lot, and there's 3 other backs that are competing for touches. So Ravens running backs is kind of a situation I'm personally staying away from. Wide receivers for the Ravens, well, there was no Willie Snead in this one, so I expect Hollywood Brown to be out the majority of the game. I expect Willie Snead to be out the majority of the game. Then I expect Boykin Duvernay to kind of mix into the number 3 wide receiver role. I would say Duvernay probably plays a bit more. He'll play more out of the slot. Boykin, does have that big play upside. We saw it last week. He caught the 1 ball for 38 yards and a touchdown. Let's see, DK, you're getting 2 popular. Oh, 600 viewers. Yeah, that was insane. Insane 600 viewers. Absolutely crazy. Tight ends, yeah, Luke Wilson played 49%, Tomlinson 25%. I think Tomlinson is active, they said, I believe. So he should be their backup tight end, that being Eric Tomlinson, elevated up to the active roster. So he'll be the number 2. He's really more out there for blocking purposes. Could you throw him into the player pool? Sure, because he's $200. But what running backs for Cleveland, it's going to be about a 50-50 split, right? Chubb has been much more productive recently, but he's also $3,000 more. So, and with both running backs, like they are probably a little bit overpriced, both of them. But I have no issue if you want to go either. Again, we'll talk about players and their prices in a sec. Now for wide receivers, right, DPJ, Higgins, Landry, all saw around like 60-ish% of the snaps. There's no Hodge and no Marvin Hall, so I expect more of the same here, right, with those 3 guys. Jarvis, clearly their number 1 guy, though. And then tight ends, Austin Hooper is out, so it's going to be Njoku. It's going to be Harrison Bryant worked in. Probably Bryant will be ahead of Njoku on the depth chart, but Njoku is also cheaper, so probably for the price, I give the edge to Njoku if you're going to make a pick between those Cleveland tight ends. All right, so let's get to the player-by-player breakdown. We'll start with Lamar Jackson at the top. Same analysis here. I think you play him in captain and cash and move on, right? If you're playing cash games, you play Lamar Jackson. He has the highest floor, or in the captain. Highest floor, most upside, right? He'll have the ball in his hands a ton. Sure, he's been struggling throwing the ball, right? I know that, but it's just his rushing upside. 50, 58, 55, 51, and 94 yards on the ground. I think you play him the captain in cash games. Now for GPPs, I still do like Lamar in captain. He'll probably be the most popular captain, but there's other ways we can go. Again, we'll talk about some other players who I think are viable for GPPs in the captain spot. But yeah, overall, Lamar, like, can you make the argument to fade him in GPPs? You can. Like, we've seen slates where, like, the top quarterback has not been in the winning lineup, right? With Russell Wilson and the Seahawks, like, I think, like, 3 slates ago, he wasn't in the winning lineup. So it's a super, super risky fade. And if you're making one lineup, I probably wouldn't do it. If I was making 10 lineups, I'd maybe fade Lamar in, like, 1. So, and maybe 5 to 10%, you could fade Lamar if you're making like a ton of lineups. Nick Chubb let's go back to the flex prices. Nick Chubb's at 10.2K. Again, he's been their much more productive rusher. 126, 114, 144, and 80 yards in the ground the last 4 games. No real involvement in the passing game. So the 10.2K price does feel a little much, but I have no issue you want to go there, right? If you want to go, again, I think you play Lamar captain. As far as the other spend up goes, like whether you want to go Chubb or Baker or Jarvis, that's a little bit tricky. I don't have a super strong take there. I think this is a situation, again, kind of mentioned in the video, but go with how you think the game flows. So I think if you think Cleveland plays well and they're leading most of this game, you probably want to consider Chubb more. If you think the Ravens get off to an early lead, then I think maybe you make the argument for Baker and or Jarvis. So it's a tricky one there with Chubb, with Baker, with Jarvis, all priced about the same. Again, there's upside and downside for both, right? Chubb's been the most productive rusher. You can probably expect about 20 touches from him. Downside, no real involvement in the passing game. And again, if the game gets out of hand, they'll probably use Kareem Hunt a bit more. With Baker Mayfield, been super up and down, does have a really low floor. Right? In the last 4 games, 5, 8, 18, and 33 fantasy points. So Baker's a guy that is definitely in play. Again, this is same thing I'll say about Chubb. Is go with how you think the game flows. I think Chubb will probably be a little bit more popular than Baker. I think that's just like my best guess. So Baker is definitely someone that I think is a decent play. I don't think he's going to be super popular. I would say maybe 40, 50% owned, that being Baker Mayfield. Yeah, Baker, Chubb, again, that one's close. It is really close. One way to get different, maybe would play Chubb and Baker together. I don't think a ton of people do that. Or like play Chubb and Hunt together. If you're playing the Millie Maker, you're going to try to get unique. Now, Jarvis Landry at 9.4, again, he's clearly their number one receiver. Those games against like Houston, Philly, those were bad weather, so kind of throw those out. Last couple games, 8 catches, 11 targets, 8 catches, 10 targets, right? He is the guy with no OBJ at 9.4K. That's a fair price, does possess upside. So, yeah, I do like Jarvis. When they're throwing, he's the guy they're looking to most of the time. So, I think Jarvis is a pretty solid play. I also have interested in Mark Andrews at 8.8, kind of the mid-range. Missed last couple games, but he is the target I feel the most comfortable with for Baltimore. He's a guy that can look to in the red zone. He does possess upside. We've seen 20-plus fantasy point games from Mark Andrews. Cleveland kind of struggles to defend the tight end, so I do like Mark Andrews a decent amount. Again, price does seem a little bit much, but again, you can make the argument basically everyone besides Lamar up here seems a little bit pricey. Dobbins at 8.2. It just, again, if we go off last game, they're going to use 4 running backs, and they're not involved in the pass game, so you probably, like Dobbins, I would say, gets 10 to 15 touches. If you play him at this price, you're going to need at least 1 touchdown, in my opinion. So that's not saying it's out of play. It's just a contrarian play for his price. Dobbins not really someone I'm super excited about. Hollywood Brown, not a cash game play, in my opinion, just because of the low floor. Now, he has had a long touchdown in back-to-back games. I think that will raise his ownership. Both those games have been in like showdowns against Pittsburgh, against Dallas. So I think Hollywood Brown might be pretty popular. Again, he does have a low floor, though. Like, previous 2 games, 3, 0, 6 fantasy points. So I don't think I'd go to him in cash. Like, I would rather go to Mark Andrews. I think he has a little bit of a higher floor compared to a guy like Hollywood Brown. Can you play Chubb and Hunt together? Yes, you can. Let's see. We're about halfway through the player pool, guys. If you enjoy the content, hit that like button. It does help me out a ton. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Would greatly, greatly appreciate that. But all right, talked about Hollywood Brown. So Kareem Hunt's at 7.2. I think he goes a little bit lower owned. I think, again, the masses are going to go to Chubb. I don't mind the discount Hunt. And for me personally, I prefer Hunt to Chubb. I think that's more of a contrarian take. I know Chubb will get more carries, but Hunt's $3,000 cheaper. He's still a good running back, and he's the one that's a little bit more involved in the pass game. Not a ton, but he's their better pass-catching back. So, the way I'm building my lineup, I'm kind of hoping that Cleveland falls behind. That's how I'm building my lineup. So, I would prefer Hunt to Chubb. Again, I think that's more of a contrarian take. both in play, and both you can play both, right? Because Cleveland, if they're playing from ahead, they are going to run the football, right? They're a run first team. Now Higgins at 6'2" is one of those plays I'm just okay with in the mid range. Had a nice game last game, 6 catches and 9 targets. He's the number 2 guy. Again, I think the price is maybe a little bit much, but I'm fine with it if you land on him. He will be lower owned. Kind of the same thing, Willie Snead at 5'8". I'm just okay with it. He's the number 2 wide receiver. Doesn't have a ton of upside, but he's fine if you need someone. Both the number 2 receivers are just like, they're okay. Again, no Austin Hooper. We'll talk about the other tight ends here for Cleveland in a sec. Gus Edwards at 5'2". I don't want to do it. He did have over 100 yards, but only 7 carries, right? So it's just Baltimore running backs. It's hard to get confident with any of these guys. If you play one of these guys, you probably need a touchdown. So not saying that's impossible, but first you got to guess which running back is going to be, and then you got to hope they get in the red zone or hope they get in the end zone. Yeah. Now DPJ at 4'8" is a little bit more viable with no real competition for snaps here. Right, I was a little bit worried about Marvin Hall, but he's inactive, so expect him to be the number 3. If people are box scoring watching, they're probably going to avoid him, but he should be out there about half the game, maybe a little bit more. I think, again, a little pricey too, but still viable. With the defenses, Browns and Ravens, I probably give the edge to the Ravens. I think there's slightly better defense, and I guess blame both the run first team. I'm not overly excited about either defense because defenses get their points mostly from dropbacks, so that's why I'm not super excited about either defense. Let's see. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to see if we got any news on those. I just want to see if I don't miss anything for NBA. If Maverick starters. I don't think we're going to get that news. I mean, I'm playing Luka. I'm hoping he plays in the second half. Sorry to kind of get off topic. I know this is NFL, but yeah, I don't see anything there. Okay, so back to the players. As the defenses, at least for one lineup, I'm not really excited about either. Just because both teams are run first teams. Harrison Bryant at 4.2K, so it's gonna be him. It's gonna be an Njoku. He's expected to start at tight end at 4.2K. I think that's a perfectly fine option. I think I do prefer the price on Njoku for a little bit cheaper, but Bryant's gonna start. Probably does see a little bit more action at 4.2K. That's a fair price. The kickers, I probably give the edge to Tucker. He's the better kicker. I feel a little more comfortable with Baltimore's offense overall. So maybe you pick the kickers, I'll go Tucker. Luka or Ja. Yeah, for me, it's Luka. Ja or Giannis. It's Giannis there for NBA. Yeah, I mean, okay, and there's question marks with Luka in his minutes. If he only plays the first half again, then I'm going to lose. But they only have one more preseason game, so I assume the starters play minutes into the second half for NBA. But yeah, with the kickers, Tucker, Parker, I prefer Tucker. He's the better kicker. Ingram at 2.8K, kind of getting phased out, only had 6 carries. Again, you can play him. I'm not going to, but if you do, you probably need a touchdown there. Now, Boykin and Duvernay are a little bit more interesting. Boykin had that long touchdown. Both these guys, what do I expect for snaps? I do think Duvernay plays a little bit more out of the slot at 1.6K. I probably give the edge to Duvernay over Boykin. It's close. Again, I think both probably play around half the game, maybe a little less, maybe a little bit more, right around there, right, would be my best guess. So I think I give that to Duvernay. I think he's a solid play at 1.6. I don't think Boykin or Duvernay or neither will be super popular, but yeah, definitely you can look to them for value. There's not a ton of amazing value. Then yeah, mentioned Njoku, right? He's a decent pass catching tight end. He should work as the number 2 guy. At $1,000, you don't need a ton. You need 1 or 2 catches. So I think he's definitely in play at that price. And then below that, again, Luke Wilson's not playing. Justice Hill is the number 4 back. He'll probably get a couple snaps, but nothing more than a dart throw there. And I think that's really, again, no Marvin Hall, no Hodge. Bradley is the Browns. Let's go to the Browns. He is their number 4 wide receiver. He played 15% of the snaps. He's at $200. He has not had a target. You can throw him in there in your player pool. And then, yeah, Tomlinson should be the backup tight end for Baltimore. He's elevated, but he's more of a blocker. So there's really nothing in this range that I like a ton. So let's get to players I like for captain. Again, for cash games I mentioned, I think you go Lamar. And then with the other spend-ups, kind of depends how you think the game flows. For GPPs, again, I like Lamar still a lot, even though he's going to be popular. I think you can look to either Cleveland running back just due to the fact of their run first team, and both those guys do possess upside. Jarvis at the top. Again, I like him a lot here. just because he's their clear number one guy when they're passing. So Jarvis is a guy I like a good amount. And I do think you could play Mark Andrews in the captain as well because he's the guy that can go for 20 plus. So those are really the guys I'm considering. I don't think I play any of the Baltimore running backs. You can go to Hollywood Brown too for GPPs because he has that boomer bust nature at the low floor, but does have a ceiling of probably over 20 fancy points. And for me, I probably don't play either of the number 2 receivers in the captain. I don't think they possess enough upside to break the slate, that being Higgins, that being Willie Snead. Cheap options, the Cleveland tight ends. I'm looking at them in the flex, not really in the captain. Duvernay or Boykin, that would be super, super contrarian. You could do it, but again, I like those guys at the top more. So it's really Lamar. It's either Cleveland running back, Jarvis, Mark Andrews, Hollywood Brown for GPPs. That's what I'm looking to for captain. But all right, we are about 10 minutes until lock. So let's get to some questions. If you enjoy the content, again, leave a like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It does help me out a ton. Yeah, core. I don't really give core for the showdown. For captains again, or if you're playing cash, I would play Lamar in the captain. And then it's tough in the Cleveland side. It is because you have either running back, you have Baker. I like I like Jarvis, so maybe you throw Lamar in captain with Jarvis and one of those Cleveland running backs. Anyone see Edwards over Hunt? I wouldn't, just because I think Hunt gets more touches. Silva still hasn't played. Yes, I was going to ask. That is huge. 20% of people played him. Hope he doesn't play in the second half. What do you think for captain? I'm playing Lamar in the captain if you want to follow my lead. I know he's going to be popular, but I'm going to get different elsewhere. People played Silva. They did. He was 20% owned. Again, I was a little bit confused about that in the live stream. I thought I missed something. All right, DK. I have Lamar at captain with Andrews, Hunt, Snead. Who should I fill in those final 2 spots? How much salary do you have? So Lamar, Andrews, Hunt, Snead. Okay, let me just put that on here. Lamar, Hunt, Andrews, and Snead. You have about 5.2K remaining. I think what I would do, there's not a ton of kind of in the mid-range. I would probably go to the top and try to get maybe a Jarvis or a Baker, and then go down to, so if you go Jarvis, then you can get Njoku. I think that's what I would do. So hope that helps. I would go Jarvis. I would go Njoku there with that lineup of yours. Chubb and Hunt in the same line, yes. That's one way to differentiate yourself in the Millie Maker. I don't think a ton of people do it. I'm down 7. Who do I start? Hunt, Brown, or Edwards? The floor play is Hunt. The safe play is Hunt. The upside play is Hollywood Brown, but he has a very low floor. You need 7. So for me, I think I go Hunt there. Edwards, I don't think it's enough touches for me to consider him. Captain, Andrews, Brown, Hunt, Ingram, Landry, Mayfield. I like that. Lamar, captain, then 4 Browns on FanDuel. Fine with that as well. Hero, PJ, watching our smashing. Let's go. Nice. Is Higgins an option? I think he's fine in the mid-range. Both him and Snead are okay. Andrews, captain with Jackson, Hunt, Njoku, Landry, Brown, GPP. I think that's fine. You like the kickers? Kickers are decent. There's not a ton of great value, so I think you can look to the kickers. I do prefer Ravens kicker, Justin Tucker, because he's a slightly better kicker, but both viable. If you need value. I'm going Dobbins and Gus Edwards, super risky. Yeah, okay. Again, Dobbins at that price probably needs a touchdown. Gus, it's really risky, but you never know. Right? There's crazier things that have happened. DK working overtime tonight. Thank you, dude. Appreciate that, man. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. At least last couple, or with NBA preseason plus NFL, a lot of content. GPP captain Landry, Lamar, Hunt, Bryant, Tucker. I like that. I do. We're almost at 200 concurrent viewers, guys. Thank you for the support. Over 50 likes. I appreciate it. Any interest in Willie Snead? Same thing with Rashard Higgins. I think they're just fine plays in the mid-range. If you landed them, that's okay. Both should get a fair amount of work. So, yeah, they're okay. Hunter Brown. Again, the safe plays Hunt there. The upside plays Hollywood Brown. And Andrews, my fault. Okay, I like that. Let's see. Portis at 5% of FanDuel. Hey, I'm surprised he's that low owned, especially after what we saw last game from him. I see Alexander Walker had a nice start there. 11-3-1. You guys know NAW season. Um, Captain Andrews, Browns, Jackson, Landry, Mayfield, and Njoku. I think it's okay. Again, I'm not super excited about the defenses, but they're definitely viable on the slate. I need none to play in the second. I do too. Praying for those Miami guys to play in the second. Landry or Baker and flex for the last spot. I'll go Jarvis. Worried about Njoku. I mean, he's 1K, so it's kind of just a salary play for me. That's the reason I'm personally playing him. And the fact that like he's a decent pass catching tight end. There's no Haas and Hooper, so sure, Harrison Bryant probably starts, but Njoku should get a decent amount of work. And yeah, that's the reason I'm considering him. I think Lamar goes off today with return of Snead and Andrews. Yeah, I mean, Lamar's my favorite play captain, even though it's popular. I'm so surprised there is an edge in NBA preseason. People are still not starting great value plays. I agree. There's a huge, like, NBA preseason is, in my opinion, more profitable than the regular season. Cleveland has no corners. Brown should go off. Yeah, the upside in Brown is really high. I think he might be a little over-owned just because Baltimore's been on showdown sites last couple of games, and he's got a touchdown. So that's the reason I think he might be a little bit over-owned. Higgins or Snead? I'll go Higgins, and the reason I do is because Snead has missed last couple of games. Maybe they limit him a bit, so I'll go Higgins if you're going to make me pick, but that's not a strong take. DK, how do you feel about Captain Lamar, Andrews, Hunt, Mayfield, Njoku, Peoples, Jones for cash? Captain Lamar, okay, you have Andrews, Hunt, Mayfield, Njoku, Peoples, Jones. I think that's fine for cash. That's a bonus T-shirt fire. Appreciate that, man. Thank you. Thank you for your hard work. No problem, man. Is Njoku greater than Duvernay? That's like very close. I think I would go Duvernay over Njoku if I had the salary, but yeah, that one's really close for me. Are you playing Mark Andrews or Hollywood Brown? I'm playing Andrews. Hollywood Brown I think might be a little bit over-owned. I'm not saying to fade him, guys. He has a ton of upside. I am a little bit scared about fading Hollywood Brown. Yeah, so I'm playing Andrews over Hollywood Brown, but again, that's not a confident take either. Like, I'm definitely scared of not having Hollywood Brown. I think it'll be pretty popular. How do you feel about Captain Landry, Mayfield, Ingram, Higgins, and Snead? Yeah, so Ingram's just the guy I'm not like super excited about. I mean, he did have 6 carries. I don't know. I think personally I would rather play like either Duvernay or Boykin over Ingram. Hunt or Chubb. So I think this is a contrarian take for the prices. If price didn't matter, it'd be Chubb. But taking price in consideration with a 3K discount, I'm going to go Hunt slightly. And the reason being is just kind of an ownership thing. I think Chubb's going to be really popular. He's been running the ball a lot better recently. So, again, I kind of take a slightly more contrarian approach or a risky approach on these showdown sites, and that's just, again, factoring in ownership. So I'll go Hunt for ownership. Lamar, Chubb, Andrews, Tucker, Njoku, and Dobbins in cash. Yeah, I think that's fine. Dobbins is overpriced, but he's their best running back. Maybe they go to him a little bit more. Best play under 5.9. It would probably be one of those secondary receivers, I think. So Snead's at 5.8. I think it would be Snead for me. Snead or DPJ, that being Donovan Peoples-Jones. Hunt in the captain too risky? No, you can do it. Like, he has struggled recently, but he's still a good running back. And again, I think I like that. What do you think about Captain Andrews, Lamar, Jarvis, Baker, and Njoku, Tucker? I like it. Play both Cleveland running backs and Baker captain. That's very contrarian, right? Not a lot of people are going to do that, playing both running backs and Baker. But that's one way to differentiate yourself. You want to get unique in the Millie Maker. You want to be different. So I think I got a lineup that's dubbed. I'll split it. Okay. I mean, that's fine if you're fine with splitting with it. I have no, that's up to you. Favorite running back tonight, Hunt for his price. Again, I think that is contrarian take, but I'm going to go Hunt. Peoples-Jones, too risky, or should I play Tucker at that price? That's a tough one. With Marvin Hall being inactive, I think Donovan Peoples-Jones does play like over half the game. I mean, the safer play probably is Tucker in cash. So, yeah, maybe I go Tucker there. I think DPJ, obviously possesses a bit more upside if you can catch a long one. Appreciate you, DK. Enjoy the game. Thanks you, man. DK, how does this for cash? Captain Andrews, Lamar, Baker, Chubb, Tucker, and Njoku. For cash, personally, I think you play Lamar at captain. So you might have to rearrange a couple things. Play Lamar at captain, move Andrews in the flex. You might have to, again, go down somewhere. we got about 3 minutes until lock, guys. So any last minute questions, throw them in there. My NBA was looking good, but Keir Lewis has not played yet. Really? I thought he'd be in the rotation. They have Thornwell in the rotation. Okay. I'm just looking at things here. Heroes has a nice start to the game. If Carter does even okay, my NBA should be fine. Yeah, I mean, I think Javon Carter should play, decent minutes. Checking some ownership in the late game. Bobby Portis 24%. Luka's only 28%, so that's where I'm getting different. Giannis 80% owned. All right, we'll see how that goes for NBA. Wow, Fred VanVleet put up 33 in 1/2. That's impressive. That is really impressive. All right, MVPs for FanDuel. Well, for cash games again, I think it's Lamar. Okay, let's see. Lamar, Captain, Andrews, Hunt, Willie, Snead, Jarvis, and Joku. That's fine, but he should play some second half. Captain and Landry, Andrews, Higgins, Hunt, Lamar, Duvernay. Good with me. Fade Baltimore, wide receivers, and tight ends in cash. I don't think you have to play them in cash. 3,700, too much to leave on the table? No. You can leave. I don't know. It depends how confident. If you're confident of the value, you can leave as much as you want. Like I've had a slate. I've left like 12K on the table before in GPPs. Need Lonzo to do some more, man. I thought he was doing okay. I didn't play Lonzo personally, but I thought he was doing all right. Right? I know Ingram's doing really well, and I don't have him. That's just because I couldn't fit him. I wanted to play Luka. Lonzo is 7, 4, and 3. Yeah, that's a pretty nice half for him. Again, they're going to get good minutes. DK, you went a little risky with Doncic. Yeah, I took the shot. I hope he plays in the second half. We'll see how it goes. Oh, no, yeah, Marvin Hall's inactive, so do not play Marvin Hall. That's why I'm a little more comfortable with DPJ. I'm going to switch out Giannis for Luka. Giannis, you feel a little more comfortable with the minutes based off what we saw last game. Boykin does it again tonight, possibly. Him, Duvernay, viable, cheap plays, and Njoku. Those are like the really cheap plays I think are in consideration. Lonzo is 17, I think. Yeah, I think Lonzo's playing pretty well, or at least from that stat line. All right, guys. Any last minute questions? We had again, I think about 200 concurrent viewers from Monday Night Football. That's really, really good. I appreciate you guys. PJ Washington 24 looking good. Hey, he was my favorite Hornet guy, and I was debating there. My last spot was either PJ Washington or NAW. I went NAW. We'll see. NAW still played well. I don't think as good as PJ Washington, so that one's going to come down close. I did go NAW just because I felt like I have to. Love NAW. He's my boy. Looking good. PJ saving me. PJ balling out. Yeah, he's playing really well. All right, we should be at lock. Thanks, CK. Let's see it, of course. What do you think about Higgins? Fine play in the mid-range. Him and Snead, I think, are just okay. I got Hero, Zion, and Washington and Giannis with Luka, hoping for second half minutes for Luka. I like that. That's very similar to what I have. I'm looking good in basketball right now. Hey, it's great to see. 3 days cashing NBA for that, hoping 4-4 and a good pace so far. Great to hear. Have you had better luck with NBA DFS or NFL? I'm good at both, but I would say NBA is my wheelhouse. RG3 or Gus Edwards? Gus Edwards. I should have done your NBA live last night. I did not end up cashing. It's unfortunate, but hope you cash tonight. Ownership, let's see. Once it loads in, we'll go over it, and then I'm going to get out here for the day. I'm going to go eat some food and watch these games. Keir Lewis can get 10 to 15. I think we're good. The reason you might be in trouble is just because I don't know if they add anyone else to that rotation. They said they're going to play starters 30-plus minutes, so he might not play. Chubb or Baker, and that was a situation where it's close. Go with how the game flows. Let's get this money tonight. At least I got some bad boys starting to play Morant, Greek Freak. Hey, there you go. Morant crushed last game. Absolute crush. So let's go over ownership. Let's go my lineup. So I played Lamar in the captain with Baker, Jarvis, Andrews, Devin Duvernay, and Njoku. So Lamar, 86% owned. That's not a surprise. Baker at 44. Again, I expected 40 to 50% ownership. Jarvis at 40%. I got Andrews at 52%. Duvernay at 13%. And Njoku at 26%. Other ownership, the Ravens D, 20% owned. A little high. Chubb coming in at 56% owned. Kind of expected that. I expected him to be a little bit more popular. The Browns defense at 9%. Okay, Chubb at 56, Hunt at 34. Peace out. Hey, have a good night, guys. I think NBA is more consistent. I agree. NBA is more predictable than NFL. NFL a little bit more variance with touchdowns, injuries, etc. Dobbins 24%. Again, I think that's a little bit high just based off what we saw last game. But yeah, Hunt 34% to Chubb 56%. That's kind of what I expected. Thanks, man. Good luck, Alden. Joku already caught one. Hey, let's go. I'll take it. All right, guys, I'm going to get out of here. So I really appreciate you guys coming to check out the NBA stream. If you're in there, if you checked this stream, thank you. I'll have a video for NBA's preseason slate later tonight. So be on the lookout for that. NBA is just better because the NFL touched. Exactly. A little bit more variance involved with NFL. But thanks again. Hope